So my biggest pet peeve when it comes to dealing with people, I would have to say hands down, and this is actually worse than pride, right? You know how the Bible talks about stay away from pride. Pride comes before the fall. I would have to say when people, I don't like it when people start problems and then play victim. I hate that. Oh, I hate that with a passion. You start the problem, and then when the person defends themselves, because you started the problem. So people have every right to defend themselves verbally, even sometimes physically. But you start a problem and then you play victim. I don't know what's happening. Why are you acting like that? Why are you raising your voice? Why are you doing this? Why are you? Because you start a problem. And when you start problems, normally, typically, there's going to be a reaction. So the Bible tells us to have self-control. So this is the reason why I never believe a person when they say, oh, I'm a Christian, I go to church 7 days a week. None of that stuff matters if you don't have the fruit of the Spirit being produced in your life daily. Otherwise, you just are going to a building, hearing 3 songs, giving some money as a donation to a 501c3 nonprofit, hearing a motivational speech, and then you're going back home unchanged. There's no transformation. See, the life that you're supposed to be living with God is a spiritual life. It's in John chapter 4, verse 23 through 25. God is a spirit, and the true worshipers will worship in spirit and in truth. So a lot of times people are acting more like Pharisees and Sadducees. Remember in the New Testament, they were always going against Jesus. Jesus walking in the Spirit of God. He has the revelations that he has revelation from God because he is God. But the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they're religious, so they don't they're not receiving revelations from Christ. That's the reason why Jesus rejected them, because they were hurting people more than they were helping people. So what does that mean in your marriage? What does that mean with your job when you're dealing with your boss? What does that mean when you're dealing with your kids? What does that mean when you're dealing with your friends? You have to understand you have to have self-control. You just have to have it. But the only way you can obtain it, you have to develop it with the help of the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit is here to help us prepare for heaven, but also more so prepare for loving our neighbor like we love ourselves. And I think that so many times we forget that on a daily basis. Like even this morning when I woke up, my wife was just like, she was tossing the clothes on the bed. And this wasn't the first time. She's done this throughout the years. And today I was just like, okay, can you be careful? You're tossing the clothes and it's hitting me. And then the first thing she did, remember I was talking about start the problem and then play victim? Oh, you're getting upset because of clothes hitting your body? You're getting upset. That's the first problem, is when someone has an issue. If someone says that you just harmed them, you can't say control their feelings. And see, this is why people lose their mind. Hopefully it won't be my wife. But this is how people lose their mind. I'm going to tell you how. A lot of times in life, and this has nothing to do with people taking medication or anything. This has everything to do with respect and dignity and value towards human beings. What happens is people tend to want to do things their way. It's either their way or the highway. And then if you try to tell them, you remind them, aren't you a follower of Christ? Because a follower of Christ has to operate under the manifestation of the fruit of the Spirit. Okay, this has nothing to do with listening to a Christian song every day, has nothing to do with going in and out of a church every week. This has everything to do with the development of your inner man, your spirit man. So what happens is if you hear that someone could be harmed because of your merit, I believe that you should humble yourself in that moment and say, oh, I'm sorry if I hurt you, but nobody wants to lay their life down and deny themselves. They want to be like, no, you're wrong. Blah, blah, blah. No self-control. So if there's no self-control, I start questioning, are people really filled with the Holy Spirit? Like my wife is filled with the Holy Spirit. We all fall short. I told you in another video, there's 3 different levels. There's stumbling for the believer. There's falling from grace for the believer, and then there's walking away from the faith. So I would say my wife throwing clothes at me and I'm getting upset about it, and then I defend myself verbally in a nice tone, and then she gets upset and irate, I would say that that was just stumbling. She stumbled, maybe I stumbled, I don't know. But the reality check is we have to be mindful of how we treat people, because I can guarantee you no one's going to toss anything towards my wife and she not say anything. So the reality check is, that's my biggest pet peeve is when people start problems and then play victim. Don't do that.